And here we are. We are live.
We are.
Welcome to my Friday 3 Questions to Better Business. With me today is a dynamic woman I have not known very long, but we're in the same coaching program. And immediately when I met her, I thought, this is a person that not only I want to get to know, but want all my followers, my clients and fans to get to know. Cindy Skalicky from, I want to say Littleton, Colorado.
Fort Collins. Close.
Fort Collins.
Yeah.
Close. Good to have you with us.
Thank you. It's great to be here. Wonderful
Yeah.
to see you on this lovely Friday. It's gorgeous here in Colorado today.
I'm sure a great time of year out there, isn't it?
It is. It's been a great fall. We haven't had any big snow yet, and that can derail us. Sometimes we get a bad October snow, but we haven't. So it's been great.
Excellent. Now, you and I work in the same world quite a bit, but one of the reasons I wanted to talk with you is I love what you're doing to help people clarify their messages. And I love what you're doing too, to attract clients. So that's what our focus today on 3 questions to better business is going to be all about. If it's for me, I can't talk about it.
So this is the second time my phone has rung in the middle of a recording.
You know, it's so funny in the last 19 months, what has almost become acceptable, or it's like, hey, it happens.
Yeah, exactly.
Phones ring, kids running, dogs bark, just
that's up next. My dog barking, I promise. The vacuum might be running. You never know.
I got 2 upstairs. They will start barking at some point.
Exactly.
All right, let's dive into the first question.
Yeah.
That is, how can we most effectively use storytelling in our LinkedIn posts?
This is a great question. I'll tell you a little bit about my LinkedIn learning curve. You know, when I first started on Point 6 years ago and got into LinkedIn, I didn't know which end was up. I didn't know how to use it or maximize it at all. And the first thing I did for my new little company was go to this large conference where I was part of one of the breakout sessions, and I did a session on business in storytelling. And I came home, I had heard a bunch of speakers, and I was like, well, what do I do now on this LinkedIn thing? I, went out and connected to the people I had met and found their profiles. And I was from the very beginning to just grow my little LinkedIn network. And I thought, well, what could I do I don't know, what should I post? And so I ended up posting a storyline that day around how I felt each of the speakers I had seen at that conference had nailed it. And I thought, well, maybe I should, so the positioning there was, let me lift up some other people on LinkedIn and compliment them and tag them and share with the world what I felt they did great, because that might make them feel good, and also share with others what I see in speakers when I'm watching them. And that was my first post, really, that I remember doing and thinking hard about. And since then, I've just continued to steer clear of really direct sales stuff and go way further and into storytelling. And the age-old question is, do views matter on LinkedIn? And how does the number of views really mean anything? And none of us really know. The algorithm is constantly changing. But I get the most feedback from folks on my email or through LinkedIn when I'm telling stories. And so I'm not talking all the time about something business related. I might be talking about one of them this summer that got a lot of attention was a black and white photo of my son with his golf club slung over his shoulder walking to tryouts for the high school golf team. And I talked about, what it's like to be a working mom and running kids all over, but also the grit and persistence that my son displayed in trying out for a team that was going to be tough to make, and how we can relate that to business. And it's just a way for you as a business owner to show your personal side. We can all share services. You and I, Michael, can say a lot about the public speaking services we share, but what makes you different from me is your stories, and is the way that you do things the Michael Davis way versus how I see things and do things the Cindy Skalicky way. And the storytelling is the differentiator, and it's just what people like. They like to be entertained. They don't want to be sold.
Yeah, exactly. I love that, Cindy. And I posted and reacted to that story, so I can attest to its power.
Oh, yep.
I've
Yeah.
always been amused by the thought that I separate business and personal. Well, then you're pretty inhuman if you do, because
I think so, more and
those,
more.
yeah, I was just talking to a woman not long ago at a networking event whose her job is to help people improve their relationships.
Mhm.
And she said, if people's relationships are healthier, they're going to be better, more productive at work. I said, yeah, it works for CEOs too.
Yeah, it's so true.
If
Absolutely.
CEOs have good relationships at home and they carry those
Mhm.
over to the workplace, it's going to be a better place to work, which is really important in the age of the great
Mhm.
resignation.
Exactly.
Yeah. So thank you
Exactly.
for that. But yeah, you just inspired me, and I knew you were going to inspire me today. Last night here in Cincinnati, we had TEDx Women,
Oh, nice.
fantastic event. I'm going to go post this weekend thoughts on each of the speakers.
Ooh, good. Steal it from
So
my book. I love it. I think that's great.
it's
Well,
theft,
and
it's public
if we're
theft,
about
and it's being recorded. So there's proof that I stole from you.
it's yeah, exactly. No, I think that's great. And I think if people are watching this and going, "Well, I don't know how to do that. I don't know how to post with story." I would say, one of the quickest ways I started to come up with this kind of content at LinkedIn is to just look at the last week of my business and say, whose story can I tell in an anonymous way that might resonate with everyone else? So I'll say on a storyline, I just got off the phone with a client yesterday and we were working on script writing. And here's the problem so many people have when it comes to this topic. And let's go through what we did. And so sometimes it's really a lot easier than we think to find those stories and just share them really authentically because people like that authenticity and that vulnerability of times that like that Michael or me, Cindy, felt like vulnerable or that we messed up. We don't have to be these pristine, perfect people.
Right. And that's the power of story, especially when you're authentic. So that's a great answer to that entire
Right.
question about LinkedIn. So thank you for that. Second question for you. What
Yeah.
type of resources should we be using in what I call the courtship phase, early when we're talking to
Mhm.
people about possibly hiring us?
Yep, great question. And I have started to pay more attention to how I do this and what my arsenal of resources is. And I would say there are three buckets, and they are as follows. Number one, do you have anything in your website that shows your story, your about me? It could be a bio. It could be, if people watching or anyone who sees this later goes to the About Us page at my website, I wrote something really unique called a passion piece. And all 28 sentences start with the words, I love. It's something that has a history and a storyline itself, but it's really, if you want to get the heart of me, read those 28 sentences and you will know exactly the kind of coach I am. It talks about how I see my clients when they're in their moments of coaching. So, what do you have that you can grab a link? When you're in the middle of communicating with a new person, you want to help them get to know you, but not be pushing product on them quite yet. So I send that to almost all of my LinkedIn connections off the bat. Hey, just a little 1-2 punch on me. Click this link. So that's one thing. Do you have any links to things? The second thing is those LinkedIn posts have more legs than just the one time you post it. Okay, so if I have a post on LinkedIn about a previous scientific messaging workshop and someone comes to me and asks me about that, I can link to the post and say, here's a post I wrote about that message workshop I did last month. Give it a like, a share, or a comment if you like what you see. So you can reuse your LinkedIn posts. Absolutely. They do kind of go away after, I think it's around a year. It seems to be getting less and less. So if you start writing great LinkedIn content, grab it and stick it on as a blog. I've started to do that with some of mine so they have a home for the long run. The third and final thing I would say is, do you have any materials that help you understand the prospect like a survey. Can you do a really quick Typeform survey? I love Typeform. That's the platform I use. It's clean, it's professional. You can drop personal photos in there. It's easy to click. Ask a few questions about your potential client. Just softball stuff like, what brings you to our conversation today? Are you, for me, working on a message? How do you, feeling words are really great to pull out of a client. Like, how do you feel on a stage? Ratings, what do you rate yourself when it comes to presenting a slide deck? Any little 5-question Typeform quiz is engaging, and then you can kind of see their results and reach back out.
Yeah, I love what you said
So
about
that's
turning these posts into blogs. And I'm doing like with these 3 questions for better business. I'm going to turn this into an entire series, and then I
awesome.
transcribe everything. It will become a whole new product that I can offer.
Yeah. I mean,
And
it could be a book.
it could be. And I'm also using it to help all my guests have one more piece of material to promote themselves. And that's why I
Exactly.
want you on here to show your expertise. So
Yeah,
always
exactly.
think multiple purposes.
Yes, yes.
One piece can do literally dozens of things for you.
100%. Yep, exactly.
Yeah,
Exactly.
yeah. So
And that's
great.
just 3. There's many more like video, as you're saying, but we have another question coming up. I feel like I'm in a batting cage or something, and I have 3 pitches coming at me. That was
So
question number 2. Here comes question number
here comes
3.
the pitch where you hit the home run. Okay.
That's
Third
right.
question is, how can we be real? I mean, just authentic when we're looking at a camera and not appear like speaker man or speaker woman overly practiced.
Yep. Oh, I love that question. And I see so often people just having that deer in the headlights kind of look about them through video. And since we're doing so much video still, and we're going to continue to do so much of it in the future, it behooves you to get better at this or get more comfortable with it. And so for me, when I'm coaching folks on virtual communication skills and how to be more engaging, the one thing I see the most that is falling short if I'm not feeling connected to them is that they're not looking at that camera pinhole in the computer as I am doing right now. And what I think people forget is that you have really only one shot at eye contact when you're on a virtual call. And as backwards as it is, because, I'm staring at this pinhole right now, Michael, and you're to my lower left. I've got my
Right.
peripheral vision over there. And, so there's just a natural dissonance, unfortunately, but it's just reality. But when I'm giving a pitch or a talk, I want you to feel like I'm looking right at you. And that's the only way that I can accomplish that. So looking at that pinhole is a big one. And the second thing is just trying to kind of be within that frame of the camera. So you're not sitting too far back. You're not like, looking up anybody's nose, right? But you've got your positioning of the camera correct. You're at eye level. You're not showing ceiling fans or crown molding, and you're not walking around with your phone through the house when you're in the middle of a business call, right? So you want to be thinking about how you're showing up, maybe even leaning in physically to feel like you're really paying more attention, just like you would in person. When your physical space takes up more or is a little closer to the person you're in front of, they feel cared for and more in your zone. And so there are some small ways you can do that virtually. And it's truly about your body position and your facial expressions and your eye contact.
Yeah, there's so many good ideas to unpack there, and we've got a couple minutes.
Yeah,
This is something I work with people on all the time too,
I'm
is you do
sure.
not have to stay in the middle. You can go.
No.
Now,
Yeah.
it depends on your place. So, and when the lockdown hit late last year, I decided to turn my part of my basement office into a
Hmm.
studio. I have to. This is
Hmm.
what I do for a living.
Yeah,
I've got
exactly.
some depth here. Not everybody has this, but create as much as you can. You can go left to right. And to
Hmm.
your point, Cindy, it's just like on stage. When you're making a critical point, you'll step forward to the audience. There's
Hmm.
nothing that can keep you to do this and say, "This is really important. Okay, pay attention." make your point,
Right.
and then pull back. Now,
Right.
you don't want to stay up here the whole time because that gets real creepy real
Right.
fast.
Right. It's a little much, Michael. No.
Yeah, and I'm happy to take one for the team to demonstrate what you shouldn't be doing.
Right.
But
You got some spinach in your tooth over there, Joseph or whoever. No, we don't need to see that, right?
yeah, the most important element of virtual presenting, if you want to get better, is something called the record button.
Right.
Use it.
Amen.
That's
Yes.
right.
Yes.
Because people, it's just like when you and I coach people on a stage and we say something to them like, you really could have paused longer.
Mm.
Typically they'll say, well, I did. I don't argue with them. I just say, let's go to the video and watch. And
Right.
it's astounding how they're like, oh, it felt like 5 seconds and it was about 0.5 seconds.
Yep. It's
Same
inarguable
thing.
when you can play, let's roll the videotape.
Exactly. And when you record yourself giving virtual and people are saying to you, you weren't looking at the camera and you say, yes, I was, go watch it. And chances are you were doing this, right?
Yeah. People don't watch themselves enough, and that's how you get better. And so that's a big, huge tip I would suggest. And like, quit being afraid, right? Don't, just get in there and analyze yourself, get better, take notes. And that's how you can improve, all on your own. I'll give one super fast example of how this did not fly, this whole virtual setup thing. I was about a year ago in the pandemic, I watched a CEO do a demo of his product through a virtual channel with like 7 or 8 people watching. The CEO was sitting in his desk and his camera was kind of like way far away. I could hardly see his face or match it on LinkedIn, if you will. I wouldn't have been able to do that because he was too far away. He was sitting at his desk. He gave the demo, and Michael, he didn't ever one time even look at the camera to like address his audience. He was so consumed by the screen sharing that he was doing and the things he was trying to explain. But the disconnect was so pronounced, more than any other experience I've had virtually. And I just want to say to the audience that the reason we need to be better at that is because if we're not, your credibility is going to go down precipitously and very quickly when you are not engaging your audience through your virtual channels. So that really hurt him. I don't want that to hurt all those who are watching and listening today, because it's really about you showing up and really trying to bring in some of that executive presence as the presenter who should have his or her game on right then.
Absolutely. And we've been telling our clients, you better get used to this. Meeting planners are telling speakers today, be good both ways.
Yeah. Yeah. And that's why you and I have plenty of opportunities to help people more and more with all the new stuff coming out, and the ability to help rehearse people who have not been doing a lot of virtual stuff for long enough yet, or who are going back to in-person stuff and forgot how to do it well. And that's been a really interesting trend I'm noticing. People getting
it has, and I'd be interested to hear your thought on this. This will be the bonus question. I've been telling folks, look, in the last 19 months, we've been virtual. Obviously, we're going back to live presenting. And if we think that we're going to go back to a live setting, get on a stage, stand in front of a room, and just talk at people the way we used to, we're in for a shock. Because the last 19 months have been conditioning audiences to be part of the presentation.
Yeah. Yeah. Exactly.
The better speakers were doing this before the pandemic. Now all speakers, if you're not going to include your audience from start to finish, you're in trouble.
Well, it's like, if you really think about it, I mean, people were already not really loving public speaking before the pandemic. I mean, it's not usually people's top love of things to do on a Saturday afternoon, right?
Well, except those of us that are sick.
Well, right, except for us weirdos. But when you think about the fact that people didn't like doing it anyway, and then you remove them from even the possibility of doing it for 19 months, I mean, the rust is thick, and it's okay. And you just have to accept that, and you need polish. That's what we're here to help people do, because it's more important than ever.
Absolutely. And one other tip, as far as recording yourself, the most common response that you and I get, Cindy, from people is, Oh, I don't like to watch myself. Oh, I hate the sound of my voice. And
Like, get over
I'll
it.
give you the exact same advice my first coach and mentor, Darren LaCroix, gave me when I said, Darren, I really don't like to watch myself. He said, really? Oh, that is so, I'm sorry. That's too bad. Guess what? We had to watch you.
Right.
Oh, I guess you
Well,
did.
and you know what might help people is if you watch yourself back, try not to watch yourself back as you. Try to watch yourself
Yes.
back as your audience member instead, and decide if you
Yeah.
like you. Decide
That
if you
is
like your
terrific advice.
stories. You know, I
Yes.
mean, that's what I do in my training. It's like, put your ego aside and ask yourself, if I was my audience, would I have liked my stories? Would I have understood the concept or the investor pitch or the problem? Ask yourself, because I've done that, Michael, and I know we're almost out of time, but sometimes if I watch myself back rehearsing, I'm like, gee whiz, Cindy, can you get through that story faster? I'm bored of myself. And if I'm bored of myself, then my audience is going to be too, because we're all ready for something to help us get better. Even people, even you and me, we all need
Absolutely.
to
Yeah.
be consistently working at this craft. Mhm.
It's why we all need coaches, even coaches ourselves, which is a great segue into my next slide, which is if people want to reach you, if they want to take a deeper dive, I've got here Cindy at onpointcommunications.com, correct?
Mhm.
And
Yep.
there's one other
Yep,
way.
that's
And
exactly
I've
it.
thought this next way I think is so fascinating because I've heard of this concept, but I hear very few people
Mhm.
use it. It's called a phone call.
Hey, wait, I have my phone right here. It's what was
Cindy,
ringing.
Cindy Skalicky will actually talk to you on these mobile devices. I don't know if you know this. You can actually talk to people on them. Who
Yes,
knew?
yes,
I,
who
I thought
knew?
they were there for games and videos.
Yeah,
No,
no,
really.
no, you can actually call me. And I've had a couple of people call me, and I am so floored that they actually are like calling to talk to me about coaching. But when it happens, I am so excited. So yeah, text me, pick up the phone, call me, let's chat. And free 15-minute get to know you call for anyone who would love to just get to know me. And always, of course, find me on LinkedIn. Tell me that you watched Michael Davis's show, and let's connect there and tell some stories together.
Absolutely. Cindy, great to have you. And as I tell everyone, if you'd like to
Yeah,
talk to me
thank you.
also just specifically about your storytelling, you can go to, and I'll put both of all of our information here in the chat box in just a moment. You can go to my virtual business card and you can go down there and get free reports. You
Yep.
can schedule an appointment, but I'll put that in the chat box there. It's
Awesome.
infone.co/speaking CPR. Cindy, it was great to have you with
Cool.
us today. I knew you would provide value.
Thank
You provided even more than I expected, which
Oh,
was really not
good.
unexpected. I knew it'd be a lot, but it was even more than I hoped for. So
No,
you
well,
and I
thank you.
each have a program to go to in about 2
We do. We're
minutes. So I'll
probably
see
late.
you.
You better go. Yeah.
We got two.
Awesome.
We got 1 minute, so
2
we'll be there. But no,
1
thanks for.
minute.
I'll see you over there. Hey, we're performers. We can
You on
show
the
up
other side.
late. Yes. All right. Thanks for
That's
being with us
right. That's
today, and
right.
I'll see you
Fashionably late.
soon. All right. Talk to you
Thanks,
soon.
Michael.
All right. Bye.
Bye.